we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans. We got a lot to talk about today and stories that are just developing right now.
Yeah, Mike, as always, man, it's a great time to be here. Appreciate you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all those good things. Drop a comment in the chat. We'll do our best to include you guys as part of the show. And without further ado, we're like a half week closer to getting President Trump back in the White House where he belongs. But there's a lot of chaos going on as always.
Yeah, we got a lot of crazy things just happening this morning. The CEO from, I think it was, United Healthcare was apparently assassinated in New York this morning. We don't have details for motive or anything else yet, but that just happened. Originally, it was being reported kind of as like a random shooting or something like that. But now they're saying it was a guy in a black mask, walked up, shot him, and then, he was definitely the intended target. Also, keep an eye on the Supreme Court. There's major case being argued today regarding trans issues and schools at the state of Tennessee, who's now refusing so-called gender-affirming care for minors. And again, this is something to keep our eyes on because this could help set a national precedent and protect children all over the country.
This transgender issue that's being heard before the Supreme Court is honestly one of the most pivotal cases that we will probably experience in our lifetimes. This is going to be a Roe versus Wade type of decision. When they first did that in the 70s, that set the precedent for so long, and conservatives had to fight for decades to get rid of that and get it back to the states. This is going to be a same sort of landmark decision in terms of this is going to be a precedent that's going to be set. One side or the other is going to be fighting back against that for the next several decades, most likely. And I'm just happy that we do have some, at least alleged conservatives on the Supreme Court. And even outside of those, I feel like this is a common sense issue. And so I'm feeling confident that they're going to rule the correct way and rule in our favor on this. But you just never know when it gets to this point.
Yeah, so get ready to see the blue-haired moonbats out screaming at the sky in the street when this decision rolls out. Because, the same thing. I'm fairly confident. We've got good justices on the Supreme Court. Trump did a fantastic job with most of his picks. They are not the most reliable. Some of them are not the most reliable conservatives. But when it comes to issues like this, I think we can expect them to rule the right way and end this and then give us legal standing to fight back in other states, because we really need to take down what's going on in California right now. And hopefully we can make West Virginia a sanctuary state for parents that want to protect their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we need to happen is some of these states step up and do that. And like I said, this is going to be a huge precedent moving forward for the entire country on this. Now, we're not expected to have a response and a ruling today. Today is when they're doing the arguments in front of the Supreme Court. It usually takes months afterwards. It'll probably be the spring before we actually hear an official decision on this, but today is the pivotal day where they're going to be making the arguments and such before the Supreme Court that they will then use later on to officially make their decision. So this is going to be a huge case, and we just need to be praying about it and hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going on in D.C., and a lot of weasels are trying to sabotage Trump before he can even be seated. So let's jump into this report. AG Garland is begging deep state lawyers to remain at DOJ, says department needs their institutional knowledge. Now, that's a bunch of crap. He just wants their little operatives and spies in there to sabotage things every step of the way, to leak things they think will be damaging to Trump and Trump's agenda. And they want to be able to keep their hooks in this and continue to control things. They want saboteurs. This is nothing about institutional knowledge or any other crap that they're going to tell you. This is about keeping their people in place to slow roll, hijack, and sabotage the agenda, the people's agenda, as it rolls forward.
Well, that's the exact reason why I hope Trump comes in and fires all these people, because we don't want or need their institutional knowledge. We need people who have constitutional knowledge in these positions. And there's a huge difference between those two things. They brainwashed these people into believing in the institutional knowledge, the institution of the DOJ, as opposed to the U.S. Constitution and federal statutory law. That's where this needs to get back to. And we got, that's a huge mess, man. If institutional knowledge is, having blood in their mouth for any sort of Trump supporter, which is what we've seen, what I've experienced firsthand, as well as many others, twisting the law, perverting the wording of the law to bring charges on people that they know were unconstitutional. For instance, the 1512 obstruction of official proceeding charge that was used rampantly amongst January 6th political prisoners such as myself, that they knew it was unconstitutional. Anybody with common sense, with a third grade reading level, knew that this was not the intention of the law. They knew it. They didn't care. They went ahead and went forward with it so that they could use that as a battering ram, as a weapon against Trump supporters. Same thing with the FACE Act that they've been using and locking people up for these charges for protesting outside of abortion clinics. That was never the intention of the law, was just for somebody standing outside of an abortion clinic praying to be charged under the FACE Act. And it was literally designed for if somebody went in there and blew the place up or something. And they twisted, perverted the law to go after these Christians who were praying outside and peacefully protesting outside of abortion clinics and throwing them in prison. That's going to work its way through the Supreme Court, I believe, as well. And once again, you'll see that it was unconstitutional with the way that they twisted and perverted the law to be used against and weaponized against the American people.
Yeah, because let's not forget the FACE Act was designed to protect churches, too, from vandalism and destruction, but they won't pursue any of those cases. Merrick Garland said, oh, yeah, most of those take place at night, and we're just not equipped to pursue those kind of crimes. Again, we know it's a bunch of BS. And these are the weasels they put in place that went and, like, as you said, they twist the law to enact the will of this administration and their agenda. And it's across the board. It's targeting conservatives, and they need to go. They've been part of this corruption. A lot of them should probably need to be charged with other crimes or receive some other type of discipline. So, yeah, they should all quit now, know that their policy has failed. It's not what the American people want. And we want change, and that's what we're going to get. So I don't know. We'll see how many of them listen to Garland, because I think most of them are going to put self-preservation first and probably just quit. But any that remain, we need to carefully go through everything that they did with a fine-tooth comb. And, there may be a few interns, a few research analysts, things like that can stay, that are just there to do their job. But the vast majority of these people have already shown us where they align politically, and that they put politics in front of the Constitution and have enacted this tyrannical will of the Biden regime. Well, that's not the only place they're trying to sabotage Trump. We also have this story. Biden's parting gift to bureaucrats. Biden regime grants protections and secures permanent telework for 42,000 Social Security bureaucrats until after President Trump leaves office. So this is a 5-year deal that they cut with these bureaucrats to keep them in their jobs. Almost said in power, and allow them to continue to work from home. And this is something that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have made very clear they want to target. That efficiency has gone way down with government workers, as you'd expect when they're working from home, and that A lot of these jobs need to be cut, but at the very least, they need to be going in and working in office in person again, like every other person does. We're still paying for all this office space, paying to heat it and cool it, paying for all the electricity to keep the lights on, but we're allowing them to work from home. It's insane on both levels, and it's just a giant waste of money, both in the loss of efficiency and in paying for all the space that is not being used for anything.
Absolutely. Well, I want to give a quick shout out to Dan Dreyer and Cat Victory over here in the Rumble chat. Appreciate you guys. And then Truth Quester in the Twitter chat. I agree with you. Truth Quester says Garland is a POS, and I agree 100%. Back to the story that we're on now, though, is look, they did this because, as you pointed out, Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk had already been calling out that the fact that these people were not showing up to work anymore, and we're still paying and leasing these giant buildings that are being not being used. So not only the lease, but we're having to pay the utilities on it, the upkeep, all the cleaning, all these things for these massive buildings that these people are not showing up to work inside of those buildings. I don't know if there's anything that the Trump administration can do based on the agreement that they just reached, giving them 5 years. But it'd be hilarious if there was some way that there was something in there that they could just fire all 42,000 people and start all over with new people who do have to come into work. So that would be a total win for us to stick it to the Biden administration if that were a possibility. But at the end of the day, it's obvious that they're doing anything and everything that they can to put speed bumps in front of the Trump administration before he even takes office. That's going to have long-term effects throughout the entire course. This trying to get us into World War III, all these other issues that they're attempting to do. Right now they're in that mode of let's do everything we can to try to hurt and kneecap the Trump presidency as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine there's probably workarounds and ways to get rid of them. Otherwise, there's other things that you can do when you want to get somebody to quit. Just make their life hell. Give them standards where they're constantly having to fill out forms and report back with every little thing they do. Micromanage them, or cut hours down to where they're only able to work 1 day a week remotely, something like that, to where people can't survive on that salary, and make them quit that way. If they're not going to play fair and they're going to go in and sabotage things before Trump can get into office, well, we gotta fight dirty too. Exploit loopholes and do what needs to be done to enact the agenda that the people voted for. Musk is also
hold on. I got a really good comment here from Thaddeus in the Twitter chat, and I think this is a really good point. He summarizes it really well. Thaddeus in the Twitter chat says, this is certainly not a peaceful transfer of power, with Biden trying to sabotage Trump at every turn. And that's a really key point, because, they keep hanging on to, there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power, trying to go back to basically January 6th of the last time and using that backhanded comment towards Trump supporters. But Thaddeus is correct. This is not a peaceful transfer of power when you are doing these things behind the scenes that we're actually in public to try to hurt the Trump presidency before he even takes office. So I thought before we moved on, that was a really good comment that kind of summarizes that up.
Well, yeah, and you're exactly right. Was it Thaddeus? You're exactly right. And all you have to do is wind the clock back for another 4 years. Trump wasn't putting in a bunch of speed bumps or roadblocks before Biden assumed office, before he was installed as president. So, our side doesn't do this kind of garbage, but almost every Democrat that leaves office, there's some sort of sabotage they put in place, and also just petty garbage. Like I remember, the Clinton admin, was they were going out, they stole the W's off all the computer keyboards in the White House. You had George W. Bush coming in. Apparently that was their little slap in the face there. But it's just petty toddler nonsense BS. But this is direct sabotage of a known part of the agenda, cleaning things up and just trying to put obstacles in the way to prevent the will of the people from being enacted. Now, Musk has spoken up on this already too. Elon Musk, yes, Social Security is a disaster. A better answer is Australia's superannuation program. And I'm vaguely familiar with this. I'm actually going to reach out to a really good friend of mine later today and see if she can kind of give me a better outline on how this works. And essentially, Australia has multiple programs that people can opt into. At least that's what, or not opt into. You have to be on one of them, but they are managed more like private private companies like Social Security only gets a 2% return on their investment, when even just to keep up with inflation, you have to have an average of a 4% over 10 years. So we're constantly losing money there, not to mention the operational costs, all the other waste, the bloated bureaucracy, these 42,000 employees that we're now keeping and allowing to continue to work remotely. So like the whole program needs to be restructured. It's a giant Ponzi scheme. It has been since the very beginning. And it's not affordable to continue forward in its current incarnation.
Well, they named it correctly with the Social Security program, because it is a form of socialism, and that's why it's failing. Obviously, I do think that whatever, there has to be some changes made to Social Security. I mean, there has to be. It's just not sustainable right now, because when it was implemented, they didn't expect people to live this long. And I think that's part of the reason they've been doing some of the things to try to keep people from living as long, honestly.
Yeah.
But there has to be some sort of measures, whatever they decide to do moving forward. There has to be some sort of measures to protect those who have already, retired and were expecting that. And honestly, like for younger people, I'm okay if they came out right now and said, "Hey, you're not going to have it. Okay, like you're going to have to figure something. I'm young enough, I can figure that out." And I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying I would be okay with it as a younger person. But what I don't want to happen is, my grandparents wake up one day and now all of a sudden their Social Security's gone, and all the money they paid into it and all that, and they don't have anything. That's not the answer either. I would like to see us, make these people, the elderly population, not only whole, but even whole plus some to make up for inflation on this scam that they've been forced into over the years. And but at the end of the day, it's not. I mean, every few years they're talking about, we got to bail out Social Security again to keep it afloat, and it's just not sustainable what we're doing right now. I don't know what the answer is. I'm smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough to have that answer. But I am smart enough to know that this is not working in its current form, and we also have to take care of the people who are already at retirement age or close to retirement age to prevent them from having to have a financial disaster of some sort.
Yeah, and Social Security was designed. They picked 65 as the retirement age because the average person only lived to 67 at the time. You used to have, I can't remember if it was either 16 or 18 people that were paying in for every one person receiving benefits. And part of the problem now is, Social Security money from that is tapped away to pay for disability and other things that it was never intended to pay for. So the whole program needs to be gutted, restructured, and honestly probably just eliminated. Like you said, there should be some kind of a phase out point if it's with people under a certain age, maybe with workers under 40 or 30 or whatever, because it can't continue. It's a failing program. It'll never last. It is just a giant Ponzi scheme, not to mention, the federal government's dipped into their resources multiple times and stolen from the pot. So they can't be trusted either to allow a large pool of money to sit there without them, drooling over it and figuring out ways to steal from the American people, since that's really the main purpose of Congress.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they've stolen from the Social Security fund multiple times to cover, who knows, probably sending money to Ukraine or something, is just absolutely beyond despicable in terms of all of that. But, it's also ridiculous that, you're forced to pay into this. Like there's no decision, like you're forced to do this as soon as you start collecting a paycheck, whether you're 15 years old or 16 or whatever, you paying into it from the very beginning. But if you die in your 40s and never reach the age of getting that money, then all that money's gone. Like your family doesn't receive that money. And it's crazy when you really think about it from the perspective if that money was taken out of these people's checks and put into an actual, if Social Security didn't exist and those people were just educated and said, "Hey, take this money and put it into a savings account of some sort, or some sort of fund or whatever." Yeah, exactly. Number one, it would get a much better return. Number two, the government couldn't come in and steal it from them. Number three, if they died before they reached the age of 65, it would be passed on to their children. And so the privatizing that in some aspect, in some form, would be a million times better than what they're currently doing. And because even the people who do reach the age and are getting, these checks back every month, that's still nothing compared to what they paid into it over the years and what they could have had. They could have all had millions of dollars right now, as opposed to getting a check for $1,500 or $2,000, whatever it is a month, every single month.
Yeah, actually, I remember something my grandfather said to me when I was a little kid. It didn't really impact till later. But yeah, he always said that if you saved $2,000 a year starting from when you were 18 years old, that by I don't remember, it's like 48 or something like that, that you'd already have $1 million in the bank based on interest and everything else. And we'd be far better off with some kind of program like that throughout people's lives. And as you said, that way, if they do pass away early, their family would have access to those resources. Or once they turn 65 or whatever year where you could withdraw it, you could just take a lump sum and retire to, I don't know, Barbados or whatever you want to do. Guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and then we're going to be right back with even more.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
If I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep, it's filling up more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Thank you for staying with us, and the best way to support our program and all the programs here on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. It's time to get healthy and to get away from these monster mega banks that hate us. Start doing business with other conservatives, vote with your wallet, and let's help build this alternate economy and turn it into the mainline economy and take the power away from all these weasel globalists that hate us. We got a lot to get into today, and another major story. And I've got some thoughts on this. Breaking: Trump's pick to head FBI, Kash Patel, targeted in an Iranian hack report. I'm not so sure it was the Iranians. I wouldn't be surprised, again, if this were the CIA or the FBI, and they're trying to leak information that they think would be damaging to Kash Patel to prevent him from being seated as head of the FBI. They're really freaking out about this because Kash has been very vocal. He knows where the bodies are buried. They are working behind the scenes right now, formulating plans to clean up all the corruption at the FBI. And as he said, maybe we'll even shut it down and turn it into a museum of the deep state corruption.
No, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Sorry, guys, I'm a little sick right now. They're trying to find information on him within his stuff that they can then, as you said, leak out and twist and manipulate and all these other things. That's what it's going to come down to. Or they're going to say that, he is 5 times removed from some terrorist somewhere, which pretty much everybody in the world is 7 times removed from each other, according to some studies. So they're going to be like, he's 5 times removed from some terrorist. He can't be, head of the FBI, which is unbelievable. These are the things they're going to do. Even if it was Iran who did this, technically, that our deep state swamp rats here in America either funded it or directed it, ordered it, whatever. Even if it was actually them who did the official hacking, I have no doubt that the deep state was involved in this in some aspect. To your point, they are scared to death of Kash Patel being in charge of that because of the things he's publicly said and promised to do. And that is why all of us are actually excited that he's going to be in and out. If it was up to me, I'd like to abolish the FBI completely. I don't even want it to exist. I don't want anybody to be the director because I don't want it to exist. But if it's going to exist, Kash Patel is definitely the best choice that I could think of to lead that department and try his best to correct it and get it back on the path that it was supposed to be on.
Oh, yeah, agreed. And I wouldn't be at all surprised when we do start seeing these leaks the next few days, or just anonymous sources if they can't get any good information. But think of the billions of dollars that we gave Iran, or the Biden regime gave Iran in our name over the last few years, and cutting back on sanctions and other things to prop up this Islamic despotic regime that oppresses their own people. So maybe this was an ask. Maybe this was somebody in the CIA reaching out to one of their contacts in the IRGC, asking for a favor, giving them the tools to do it, and then, enacting the will of the deep state to try to prevent Cash and others. I mean, we're seeing a war on Trump's nominees that are going to be most effective. Pete Hegseth, they already got Gates to drop out. They really don't like Kash Patel. And I think he scares them even more than some of the others, because a few of these rhino dingbats in the Senate have had positive things to say about Kash Patel. I can't remember if it was Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins. One of the two just said that they would support his nomination. And that alone means they probably don't have the votes to stop him, because there are a couple of Democrats, including Bernie Sanders, who have also had good things to say about Kash Patel, believe it or not. So it looks like he's getting through, and I think they're just terrified of him and trying to pull out all the stops to prevent it from happening.
Bernie, for the record, has also said good things about our RFK Jr., which has been fascinating to watch as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what it comes down to is, I think some of those rhinos are holding their nose, but they don't have any information or anything negative to go against Kash with. And so they're kind of forced to hold their nose and support him, whether they want to or not. And I think that's really what it comes down to for a lot of them. And I think that is why you saw this hack, is they're like, let's see if we can find something out on him that would make them change their minds and give them the ammunition to remove their fingers from their nose and no longer have to put up with that. That's what it all comes down to, because that's what we're seeing with Hegseth right now is, all these slanderous things that they're, from these unnamed sources spreading all this misinformation about him. And that's what's really got a lot of these rhino senators, not what's got them to not support him. They were already not supporting him, but that's giving them the ammunition they need to have the excuse to not support him. And that's what they're looking for and hoping to achieve from this hack of Kash Patel.
Oh, exactly. I wonder too, with Bernie Sanders, if this, he was also a victim of the deep state, multiple times actually, especially when they, handed the nomination over to Hillary Clinton in 2016. So I wouldn't be at all surprised that a little bit of this was either revenge on his part or just, to a certain extent, he's always been, up until more recently, he's always been more independent. He has kind of gone along with the narrative from the left after being forced out. But, I wonder if this isn't also, he just sees the problem for what it is, and that this is a tool that at the very least will eliminate this cabal that's controlling the Democrat Party, the rhinos, and the narrative and the agenda for the United States from behind closed doors, that this is a way to put a nail in that coffin, eliminate the new terrorist wing of the Democrat Party, meaning the FBI, and enact change that way.
Yeah. Well,
hold on, sorry, go ahead.
No, really quick. So this is a good point by Thaddeus. Once again, Thaddeus bringing us some good information in the comments here. He brings up the FBI is not backed by Congress. It was created by executive order and can be done by executive order. And I bring that up to say, is it possible that is why they're holding their nose and supporting Kash Patel? Because if Trump doesn't get who he wants as the director, he can just executive order and do away with it completely. And so they're kind of forced on that particular choice to go with whatever he wants, because it's not, it's just an executive order and he could just do away with it if he gets mad, doesn't get his choice on that. So that's a really good point to bring up. And maybe I hadn't really thought about that was from that angle. And so that is maybe why they're supporting him, even though they don't want to.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because Trump could just Thanos snap and they're all gone, and there's nothing they can do about it except whine and complain and probably try to impeach him again. And maybe they're looking at it's better to leave the tool, even if Kash Patel is going to largely defang it, because they could always build it back up for their purposes again later if measures aren't put in place to prevent it in the future. So yeah, maybe they're just taking that gamble, knowing that the other road's even worse, at least from their perspective. But yeah, they're coming at Trump from all angles, trying to box him in. NATO chief warns Trump of dire threats to the U.S. over peace deal in Ukraine. Again, this is just a bunch of BS. We spent a gazillion dollars, over $200 billion, propping up Ukraine and their government in a failing effort. It's cost hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides, if not reaching into 1 million at this point. But they want their forever war. They want to. This is about lining their own pockets, propping up Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, all the usual suspects. They want an endless war, and they're going to try to hem Trump into that any way they can.
Oh man, this is unbelievable. They would even make that comment. Like, we are NATO at the end of the day, because we're the ones who fund all of that. 90% of NATO is funded by the United States of America. So number one, they can't threaten us in any aspect. And if they want to get into a tariff trade war with us as well over this, the NATO countries that's supposed to be our allies, if they want to do that, then that's fine. We can go down that path with them as well, because at the end of the day, we truly don't need these other places. You know, it's funny that I just saw a video, it was non-political, of some guy who was here visiting from Europe, and he was talking about how before he came here, he never really understood why Americans never travel abroad, or very rarely, like America just kind of travel. He said, God, he was talking to his people back in Europe, and he's like, America is huge. Like the United States is so much bigger than Europe. They don't have to travel outside the United States because they have everything here. And I think that is a really important context in this as well, because not only that, we have all the energy we could need. We have farmland. We have, all these things that we have here. We don't need these people. So, and they're also barking up the wrong tree with President Trump, who will call their bluff if they want to start making threats to the United States of America. And that is one of the many reasons why I supported him for president the first time, and after he proven it the second time. I want a president who's not going to take threats from these other countries.
Yeah, well, I remember in President Trump's first term, and I don't even remember what France was yapping about, but all it took was a threat of a tariff on their wine and cheese exports to get them to shut the hell up. So these countries have nothing. They're already holding on by just a thread. It doesn't take much to get them to fall in line. And I think that's one of the things I really hate about President Trump, is he is willing to flex our power and use it when it serves our interest. And they look at it as being not nice or bullying foreign countries. But sorry, I'm concerned about our interests first. I don't want to go out and actively harm or disable other countries, without there being a reason behind it. Like, we shouldn't be pushing people around for no reason, but if it's in our best interest and they're screwing us over, then we need to do what we need to do to look out for ourselves. And if that means staying out of endless wars in Europe, well, we should probably do that. It is not in our interest to continue funding this globalist fantasy in Ukraine or anywhere else. But, that's not what the Biden administration thinks. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says massive surge of U.S. military equipment headed to Ukraine before Trump takes office. Of course it is, because, they couldn't possibly, leave D.C. without pushing out everything out, basically leaving us in a position where we are vulnerable, and then we have to spend the money to replace all this equipment that they spent, even if the war ends in Ukraine when Trump comes in and brokers a peace deal. We'll still have to replace all the equipment that we gave them, and that's really just part of the trap.
Yeah, and we had I can't remember his name, Colonel John, what's his name that we have on our show before?
Oh, Mills. Yeah, Colonel
John
Mills.
Yes. Yeah. So, and the thing that's important for people to understand about, having to rebuild all this stuff is, Colonel John Mills is on our show. This has actually been months now, but he had mentioned if we started right now attempting to resupply ourselves, it would take months, if not a year or more, to even ramp up production to start replacing all this equipment. And then it would take years of 24/7 building to restock ourselves. So people are not really understanding the position we've put our own military, our own protection of the American people in by sending all this equipment to Ukraine. It's not as simple, and I didn't know this, so it was really good information from him. I just, being, uneducated on this, I just assumed, hey, we'd just ramp up production and, we'd just start rolling the stuff out and be fun. But it's a lot bigger process than that, because we've given them so many things, and these are some complex things to build, or at least on a mass scale. It's not the same as building an iPhone or something. and it would take years to do that. And that's an important context that people need to be aware of as the position we're currently sitting in as America.
Yeah, and shout out to Colonel John Mills. You can find him here on Patriot TV every weekend with his program In the Situation Room. And again, Mills is an expert. There's a lot of good information there. I'm going to try to reach out to him, see if we can get him back on here maybe next week one day. But he pointed out a few things that I wish I could remember what it was, but like there's a howitzer round, for example, that we've given a gazillion of to Ukraine that we only have enough left in our stockpile to fight for 24 hours if there were to be a land invasion here. It's a critical round for our tanks or other vehicles to utilize. We only have enough to last 24 hours now. Not to mention, it's even small arms that's spinning up the factories that make all the 5.56 and 7.62 NATO 9mm for the federal government. It takes days to spend those, or months to spend those up to where we get production levels up to where it would be needed to fend off an attack on the homeland. Patriot missile systems, we've again given a gazillion of these over to Israel, and we're only able to produce 26 missiles per month right now. And that's, that could be one strike and they're all gone, and then we're defenseless. And that's unfortunately the situation we've been left in a lot of factors. Our strategic petroleum reserves are still basically dry from Biden wanting to shirk off high gas prices, releasing the oil for purely political reasons. So we're being put in a bad spot, and there is going to have to be a fair amount of military spending and other spending just to get us back to a level of security, basic security.
Yeah, and that's what I don't think that the average. I mean, I know the average person out there, even people who watch, alternative media. I think that we're all aware of the things that we're sending over there, and the cost of it, the value, the hundreds of billions of dollars we sent to Ukraine. But I don't think that most, because I know I didn't understand just exactly the position we're putting ourselves in terms of leaving ourselves potentially defenseless if we should ever need that. This is criminal, honestly, in terms of what we're doing to the American people here. Not just the hundreds of billions of dollars that they're sending over to Ukraine, but the fact that they would put our own safety in jeopardy for this is just absolutely despicable when you really get into the weeds and how deep this really is. It's just next level, honestly. And once again, they're doing all this right now. They're ramping it up, trying to prevent Trump and put him in a tougher position to negotiate peace. Trump, throughout the campaign, had continued to say, hey, I'm going to broker a peace deal between these countries. And their goal right now is to put us in a position where it's impossible to negotiate peace, because then no matter what he does, it doesn't matter how good the economy is. It doesn't matter that, anything else that he does, they will spend the next 4 years talking about how his presidency is a failure because he didn't negotiate peace the way that he said he would have, even though they're doing everything they can to try to prevent that. I think President Trump will overcome and still negotiate a peace deal. I just think it's going to take a little longer than it originally would have, because of the measures and actions that are currently being taken by the Biden regime post-election day.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point to see like direct sabotage, NATO attacking Russia if it looks like there's a deal on the way and President Trump's about to be sworn in. But time for a palate cleanser. We need some good news. Florida Sheriff Chad Chronister withdraws from nomination as Trump's DEA head after backlash. And I want to thank everybody in the audience, because all of us that commented on this and made noise about it, that's why this guy's backing down. This guy was a horrible pick. He was a woke reject that did horrible lockdown enforcement during COVID. This is not somebody that fits America's agenda right now and what we all wanted. And there is one other pick I'm a little concerned about now that I've read more about her too. Hopefully she drops out too. I can't think of her name, but Trump's pick for the Labor Board Department of Labor, she's not exactly a great pick either.
Well, there's a couple of things with this whole story. Number one, to those on the left who say that all the Trump supporters are in a cult, here's proof that we're not, because we all bucked up basically and was like screaming and saying, this is not, I mean, if we were in a cult, we would just say, oh, he's awesome, pick whatever Trump does is awesome. And this is proof that number one, which we already knew that, but this is proof to them that we're not. Number two is this is proof that those of us with tiny voices, when we all unite, our voice becomes very loud. And that's what happened on this. Is as the information started coming out, everybody on Twitter and True Social, Getter, wherever, everybody was just up in arms, saying, I can't believe that they're promoting this COVID tyrant. You know, when people found out that he arrested pastor for having church service under COVID, all of us with tiny voices united to make a very loud voice. And it says something about President Trump to actually listen to us when it comes to that, when he realized that there was that much backlash over the choice. Because make no mistake, the guys withdrew his name, but at the end of the day, this happened because President Trump said that he was going to withdraw that nomination. And it was not of President Trump, in my opinion, to, give them the option to just respectfully withdraw his name to save face. But we all know that at the end of the day, this happened because President Trump said, hey, man, the base, the people are too upset. I cannot nominate you. And let it be a lesson to these people. The next time that someone asks you to do something unconstitutional, and if you're looking, especially if you're looking to, promote your career in some aspect, even if you hate the Constitution, you should be doing and following the Constitution out of self-preservation at this point, because all that guy had to do was simply follow the Constitution under COVID, not go arrest pastors for having church, and he'd be the head of the DEA. But he couldn't do that, and he's getting what he deserves.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this isn't somebody that, for 2 weeks wore a mask. Like I've said a gazillion times, I have a little leeway for people that did dumb things during the 2 weeks to stop the spread, because a lot of people, myself included, we were getting conflicting information. We're seeing videos from Italy where their healthcare system's completely overwhelmed. They're leaving dead bodies in houses for days at a time. We had these, now we know fake videos from China, people dropping dead in the street. We weren't sure if this disease was COVID was much worse than they were telling us or not. And so no fault if you did something stupid for the first 2 weeks and you masked up or did other things. As long as we didn't slide off into tyranny. But anything beyond that, there's no excuse for you. We have to operate with common sense and under the Constitution. Guys, we got to take one more quick break, and then we're going to be back with even more.
Now we have it. Kingdom Crunch.
It's important to start breakfast off with a power-packed punch. You want a complete amino acid score, good protein. If you turn the label over and look at the back of the box, there is no added sugars in either one of these flavors, either peanut butter or acai bowl.
Peanut butter has 11 grams of high-quality protein. Acai bowl has 8. Peanut butter has 11 grams of carbohydrate, acai bowl 12, and both of them have good solid fat content at 6 grams. Very filling, very healthy.
You will be fueling yourself with high-quality fuel, starting off the day right. You can even use Kingdom Crunch as a snack in the middle of the day if you just have a craving and you want to eat something that is good for you. It has a crunch and doesn't have a lot of calories.
There you go. Diabetic friendly, keto friendly, paleo friendly, Kingdom Crunch, and
child friendly.
Hey, Patriot TV fans, feel like there's nothing on the radio for like-minded, intelligent people like yourself? Well, great news. Now you can stream Patriot TV on TuneIn during your drive to or from work. Whether you're stuck in traffic or cruising down the highway, you can catch every conversation from your favorite show hosts right in your car. No more mindless jibber-jabber. Tune in 24/7 on the road, at the gym, or wherever you are. Download the free TuneIn app now on Apple, Android, or your computer and never miss a beat. Patriot TV, now on TuneIn.
Thank you for staying with us. And guys, if you want us to be able to keep bringing you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear, please support our sponsors. Go to patriot.tv, select our program, The Insurrection, and then support some of these brave vendors that are making this possible. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort to bring this kind of program to you. We don't have the backing of the mainstream media, obviously, and of the cartels that keep them in operation. Download TuneIn. It's a great way to listen to and watch Patriot TV. I've got it on my phone. There's a lot of programs we have on later in the afternoon, the evening, I like to listen to while I'm doing other things around the house and working on other things here. It's an easy way to help support us and make this programs like this possible. Let's jump back into this, because you sent me something right before we went live that's just about unbelievable. So this is from Leading Report, breaking: United States taxpayers paid $150.7 billion in 2023 to support illegal immigrants, per the Department of Government Efficiency. This is absolutely insane. What did you tell me this broke down to per person, Derrick?
This was $454 per person, not per taxpayer, roughly per person in the United States. So I've got 4 kids and a wife, and so there's 6 of us. That's over $2,700 for my household into this. It's absolutely unbelievable. And if you wanted to break it down, by state, that's what, roughly $3 billion that they could have just given to state and to local governments to do whatever they needed to do. And this is unbelievable that this is happening.
Yeah, how many border walls would this have paid for? Let's see. As we go with Trump's estimate at $4 billion, it's roughly a little under 20. What would that be? 17 and a half border walls. We go to the high estimate, we could still get over 10 out of it, or it would be almost 20 on the low estimate, and almost 40 sorry, I keep saying it backwards, but anyway, you get the point. That this is a huge amount of spending. And this is just from 2023. We know it's gone up in 2024 with more money going to NGOs, more going to states. And we also know FEMA, now confirmed, was directly funding the invasion in Chicago.
Well, look, so if you really take that out over 4 years, under the Biden regime, we're talking about over $500 billion at least has been spent here that we know of. This is unbelievable, man. You still have Flint, who doesn't have water up there in Flint, Michigan. You got the people in North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and Georgia who are struggling still from the hurricane and can't get any help. Like, you could literally go in and rebuild their entire communities for this kind of money and have money left over. You could solve literally homelessness in the United States of America and hunger and all these other issues in the United States of America. Like that is what's frustrating as an American citizen when you look at all the money that they're taxing us and taking from us, and then they're going and doing it on this. Like, I'm not a fan of taxes in general. I hope that they completely do away with it and end the Fed and move to the tariff taxes that Trump has somewhat proposed and floated around. I would love to see that happen in just like a national sales tax. But it would be a lot easier to swallow having the taxes if they were actually being put to use to help fellow American citizens and building up our own communities. I mean, we should look like the Jetsons around here right now in terms of the technology that we have with all the money that they're spending on illegals alone here in the United States of America. And to your point, look how many walls we could have built by now and secured our border and not be having to deal with this year after year after year. But it's a money laundering scheme, as you pointed out, with NGOs and everything else.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's the they didn't hire 87,000 IRS agents to help build up America or get deadbeats that weren't paying their taxes. They hired 87,000 IRS agents so that you could fund these illegal aliens invading our country. They want to squeeze every little last drop they can out of U.S. citizens to fund their foreign wars, to fund their fantasy programs, their research nonsense, and to fund the destruction of the United States through this invasion of illegal aliens. I mean, it's sick, and we're going to put a stop to it. No more of this. The country spoke. Even 70 to 80% of Democrats, even they're not on board. And we even got Eric Adams here now. Cancel me. In New York, Mayor vows to work with Trump on mass deportations. There's a lot of people on the left that see the problem for what it is. They're frustrated and they want it to end. And then you have this other group of moonbats that are pledging to put America last and take a stand to hide the illegal aliens, prevent them from mean old Donald Trump and his Border Patrol Gestapo that are going to throw them out of the country and reclaim America for Americans.
Yeah, and what was interesting about the mayor of New York there, I watched that video, and he actually goes into detail and asks the reporters, he says, have you seen what Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama said in 2008? Have you guys listened to them? He's like, what I'm saying is not a new idea. It's actually an old idea. It's actually an old idea that Democrats used to share, and now all of a sudden it's being villainized. But, I also have to, at the same time, I wonder if he's sincere or not. I mean, I really do. And the reason I say that is, this man ran on the promise of he was going to make New York a sanctuary city. So has now that it became a sanctuary city and they're being flooded, has he just really come to the realization that that's not realistic and this isn't fair? And he's actually had a true change of heart on that and change his mind? Because look, no matter how old you are, people can learn and grow. And, you know, a lot of these things sound good on paper, and then when you actually see them in action, they're not. And so if that is the case, props to him to, you know, for seeing the light and not just going down with the ship and refusing to admit he was wrong about something. But I also have to wonder, is he just doing this because Trump won? And, you know, I think he's got his own legal problems up there and he's hoping to probably avoid. And, you know, are those the reasons, or, you know what I mean? Or I don't know. I mean, that's what or did he always feel this way and he just lied to the people up there to get elected and say he wanted a sanctuary city? I mean, something is amiss here. And I think that as the people of New York, I think that as a voter there, I would want to know that answer. And I think that those people deserve that answer from him. You know, which of these options is it as to what has happened here?
Well, maybe one day we can get a reporter with some stones to go ask him, and he can tell us that he really had a conversion because he saw the problem, saw the destruction that it was bringing upon New York, or whether this is a matter of political convenience since the Biden regime, DOJ, is targeting Adams for speaking out on this and a few other issues. It'd be good to know. Trudeau tells Trump Canada wouldn't survive his tariff, and Trump's response is priceless. Yes, Trump said, well, you know, if Canada can't hack it, then maybe they shouldn't be a country anymore. Maybe they should be America's 51st state. And again, this is, I'm sure, at least partially said in jest, but at the same time, you know, like Trump said, we're not going to allow countries to take advantage of us anymore. And Canada needs to control their border, just like we are here. If we all of a sudden had a flood of people, you know, going over to Windsor from Detroit, I'm sure Trudeau wouldn't be too excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, shout out to, let me find it here. Sorry. Brent, over here in the Twitter chat. He's from Canada, actually. He's watches on a regular and said, you know, good morning, Derrick and Michael. He's actually watching to see what a Trump presidency in the U.S. means for Canada. And it means that you guys get to become part of the United States. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And then Trump also posted that picture of, you know,
yes.
Canada, which is hilarious, just trolling around. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that most the Canadian patriots, the people who are, you know, truly love Canada up there and are actual citizens there, I think that they are all, you know, against Trudeau as well and what he's doing to their country. He is destroying their country. It's really, really sad. And hopefully they can make some changes there. And you see that some people are out marching on the streets now, you know, promoting, you know, Canadian pride up there, as they should be. And they need to take their country back the same way that we're trying to take our country back here in the United States.
Yeah, populism and right-wing politics are on the ascendancy in Canada, just like they are in Europe and a lot of other places around the world. That people have gotten the message that it's time for a different path forward. This globalist nonsense that the world's fallen for the last 20 plus years, really more than that, is done. It doesn't help the citizenry of those countries. Instead, we've all gotten downgrades in our living conditions. So it's time for a change, and everybody knows that. Let's go ahead and we only got a little bit of time left. So let's pull our last couple of stories here real quick. Biden's Lebanon ceasefire falls apart already. And again, I don't think anybody's surprised by this, that this was half-hearted at best, but they certainly don't want to leave Trump with peace in the Middle East. And we saw peace breaking out immediately after the election. So this was Biden's little try to come in and grab some of that stuff for himself, build up his legacy, something beyond, you know, pardoning his crackhead son. And it didn't work. It blew up in his face.
Yeah, absolutely. What else?
Literally
about him?
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, man, he's all over the place. And, you know, I think that my best response is Dan Drayer's comment in the Rumble chat says, has there been anything under this regime that is constitutional? Because he cannot recall anything. And I can't either. The entire thing has been a failure. The only thing that they were successful at was stilling the 2020 election and installing the illegitimate Biden-Harris regime. That's the only thing that they've been successful at, other than the destruction and attempting to destroy the United States of America.
You know, I'm sure if we dug hard enough, we could probably find something positive. But yeah, you know, even a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say. Trump to Hamas. If the hostages are not released prior to January 20th, 2025, there will be all hell to pay. You know, this is really reminiscent of the Iranian hostage crisis going into 1980 when Reagan was sworn in, where they were releasing the hostages at noon as he's putting his hand on the Bible. And I think Trump's kind of going for the same thing here, sending a message that you guys have had the hostages, Americans, Israelis, and others, for over a year now. And if they're not released to safety by the time I'm in office, there's going to be biblical consequences. I hope it works. And, you know, they need to be taking this threat very seriously. All they have to do is look at Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, and other people that were directly targeted once they crossed the line, and it became time to eliminate them. And if Trump's going to make a mission out of destroying Hamas, good luck.
Well, this is actually one of the other many reasons that we all reelected President Trump to a second term and elected him to win for the third time in a row. Is exactly this. You know, I love the way that he handles these foreign negotiations. I feel like for years, but prior to President Trump, we tiptoed around and tried to play patty cake politics with these people. And then we finally had somebody came in and was willing to throw the weight of the U.S. Military and the United States, the America in general behind these negotiations. And it worked. And nobody can argue. You know, now in 2015, 2016, when Trump was saying these things, I was still on board with it. But I know a lot of people were kind of nervous as to how this is going to, shake out. And that's fair to have done that. But it's already been proven to have worked. And he's already got relationships with these people. Like the first go around, he was still learning who these people were as leaders. Obviously, he knew who they were, but how do they react? What are they, what kind of, you can talk to certain leaders one way and other leaders you can't talk to that way. And Trump already knows all these people, knows their personalities, knows their country inside and out. He knows who he can throw this weight around with and who he can't. And I trust President Trump 100% in terms of handling these negotiations on foreign policy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they know who he is, too, at this point. And, I wouldn't be surprised with whoever's heading Hamas now, since a few of their leaders have been smoked by Israel in the last several months. If this guy getting a call from the leader of the Taliban right now, like, look, this guy doesn't screw around. When he's negotiating with us, he showed me a picture of my house and told me to figure it out. So, these kind of tactics work. And that's the other thing, too, is people like this respect strength, especially when they know the person is serious and they're going to carry it out. And again, this is another example of him solving a problem the rest of the world, potentially solving a problem the rest of the world has been too afraid to really engage and do anything about it. If anything, we've had most of the world is sympathizing with Hamas and Hezbollah and the IRGC and everyone else and begging Israel to stop defending themselves and defending their borders the way that we would. If we had rockets coming in from Mexico, that obviously wouldn't be tolerated. We'd level whatever city they came from. And that's the same thing Israel's doing. And this is ongoing. So, this sends the right message. And again, I don't think smoking Hezbollah is going to be that, or Hamas, it's going to be that difficult if this is the path they choose to move forward with. I think your mic's muted, bud.
Daggone. I agree. And I want to give a quick shout out to Health 613 over here in the Rumble chat, locking and following. We appreciate that. And then want to give a quick shout out to Fair Tax over here in the Twitter chat for chiming in as well. Appreciate all you guys for watching the show. And yeah, and once again, look, I trust President Trump 100% when it comes to the foreign policy stuff. He's already proven that he's going to be successful. The most peaceful time, not only in America but across the world, was when Trump was in the presidential in the Oval Office, and I expect that to resume shortly after he takes office once again.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Guys, unfortunately, we are almost out of time here, but I want to thank you for staying with us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Stay tuned next. I believe General Flynn is up after us today, so please stay tuned for that. Thanks again, and we're going to be back tomorrow with even more.